Well, sixthly, before I go on that too long, it says in verse 5 that also after homemakers they're to be good. The word has the idea of kind. And young ladies should see their mothers as kind. A young woman ought to be characterized by being gentle, tender-hearted, merciful toward others. Now that's a wisdom that's from above. The wisdom, James 3:17, that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, and gentle. So this is a woman that is getting her signals downloading from the Lord. It's a walking in the Spirit, but it's to be there. There's to be this kindness, this gentleness, this tender-heartedness, and a mercifulness. And I wonder, mothers, do your girls see this kind of Spirit-filled kindness in you? They won't learn to be kind unless, God can intend their lives so that someday they'll bump into someone that's kind. But boy, He puts you right there, and it should be you that they learn it from. And it could be that God will transport them sometime into the life of someone who will teach them to be a homemaker, but it should be you that teaches them to be a homemaker. And on it goes. And that's what you'll be rewarded for. Well, the next one, and the last one, is number 7. And young ladies, it says in verse 5, not only should be discreet, chaste, homemakers, good, but they should be obedient to their own husbands. This echoes Paul, and if you want to turn back, look at Ephesians 5:22, and I'll show you the context. Because this is not caveman pulled by the hair, woman, we're not talking about the dark ages. We're talking about heaven. We're talking about Spirit-filled living. This is what it says in Ephesians 5:22. Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. That solves it, doesn't it? That is what God says. You look on your husband as the Lord, and if you will, like Sarah, call him Lord and treat him like Lord, then God will take care of all of his imperfections, and you don't need to. And you don't need to correct him, and you don't need to badger and harass him and buffalo him and whatever you want to do and stonewall him and whatever it takes to change him. In fact, most interesting thing, a while back I had a lady come back and said, do you discipline people in this church or husbands that aren't nice to their wives and all this? And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, all this stuff you're preaching, he's not doing, and I remind him about it all the time. I said, yeah, well, no, we don't in that case. But young ladies should see their mothers as being subject to their own husband. Paul said this, and I want to show you, if you want to understand verse 22 of Ephesians 5, back up to verse 21, because it is a series of 7 different relationships in a row. And if you've never marked them, Ephesians 5:21 says, all of us are submit to one another in the fear of God. So that's the first relationship. All members of Christ's body mutually submit to one another. 2, the second in this order are the wives. 3 is in verse 25, the husbands are to love their wives just as Christ loved the church. So that is a mutual submission, verse 21. And the wife's submission is based on love. And when he doesn't love, then you revert to 1 Peter 3, which says, women, submit to your husband even if he's not loving and if he doesn't obey the word. Then the fourth one is in chapter 6, verse 1 of Ephesians. Children are to have a right relationship. Verse 5, bondservants, or that's in our economy, employer-employee relationships. Verse 9, masters, that's the employers. And finally, in verse 9 at the end, the final relationship we have goes right back. We all, whether wives, husband, children, servants, or masters, all of us, verse 9 says, at the end of it, are to be knowing that we have a master in heaven, and he's not partial, he just demands our yieldedness and obedience and submission. So that's what he's talking about. Back to Titus 2, so we can get to verse 6. Young ladies should, in verse 5, see their mothers as subject to their own husbands in the context of the Scriptures. So, mothers, do your girls see you as loving your husband? Do your girls see you as loving the children in your home? Do your girls see you as sensible? Do they see you as pure? Do they see you as a worker at home, or are you an avoider of home? Do they see you as kind? Do they see you as subject to your husband? And they should never see you as criticizing and putting down your husband in front of them. What a tragedy, and what a sowing of future seeds of destruction if they see that out of you.